What's crack, it's VangelinaSkov, and today I'm going to be sitting down and having a conversation with BraiDID Bunch. You may know them from their TikTok page or from their candid podcast that they do with DissociaDID, also known as Kaya & Co, or from the 4-hour-long video that they also did with DissociaDID where they discussed all of the controversy that's happened over the last 2 years. During this conversation, I'm going to be asking them about themselves, their social media presence, how they got into it, along with questions about how they got involved with DissociaDID, some of their thoughts on things to do with the community, as well as asking some of the questions that you had for them. Before we do get into that though, I would like to ask that you would please subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications not personalized with the little bell button, as well as making sure that you have notifications enabled on your phone. Anyway, enjoy the interview. Hello, thank you for joining me today.
Hi, it's good to see you. It's good to be here.
If you'd like to just introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Charlie. I am the host of the BraiDID Bunch system. I don't really use that title generally day to day. It's just kind of an online handle. But yeah, my name's Charlie.
And how are you doing today? That's the most important question we've got for this whole thing.
I'm good. I have had a lot of coffee and I'm feeling a little like, wee. I'm excited to be here also. But I'm good. How are you?
I am the opposite of your energy today. I'm trying to get full of coffee so I can get some semblance of being alive. That would be great.
I'm going to feed it through the webcam to you.
I really hope that works. I really do. It'll be very useful.
We'll make it work.
Yes, but I am excited to talk to you today. And I kind of want to start off asking you about social media. So you're pretty active on TikTok.
Yeah.
So when did that kind of start for you?
I believe it started, I'm really bad with time, but I think it was coming up on 2 years ago. We mostly just started trying to make video logs. So we have DID, dissociative identity disorder. And we started mostly trying to make video logs to work on our own internal communication and being able to like see each other, but just kind of executive dysfunction and everything, we're not going to do it if we don't have some kind of thing holding us to it. So making it a public thing kind of was like, even if there's 1 or 2 people watching it, that'll kind of give us the incentive to keep doing it. And then also we could kind of share that with the people in our life to be like, hey, by the way, I told you about this thing. I don't want to over explain this to you because I know it can be a lot, but like you can go check out this if you want, and you can kind of get to know a little bit more of it through that if you want to know more. And then people started watching and it was like, oh, okay, cool. And then more people started watching and it was like, whoa, okay, are we going to do this? And then it was a lot of like self-reflection and work and stuff. And then being like, okay, yeah, sure, let's do it.
And why TikTok specifically? Was there a reason, or you just thought that was the easiest platform to use?
Filming and having to do, like, we're right now kind of making the transition from TikTok to YouTube more, and having to like, I think that there's a better way to do it than the way we've been doing it, but we like film it in iMovie and then edit a little bit in iMovie and then export it to our computer and then upload it to King and then edit it more in Capwing and then upload it to our computer and then upload it to YouTube. That process is awful. And TikTok's just much more streamlined and much more just like much easier to just do everything in one place and put it up. And I think much easier in the sense of like just making video logs for each other, of being able to just be like, hey, here's the thing. Now I'm putting it up. So it really was just kind of the ease. And then as it built, we've just kind of been expanding to other platforms and finding where we actually want to settle into.
And do you remember what year it was you started, kind of date-wise, if you have any idea? I know that's a difficult one.
Yeah, I think it was 2020. I feel like it was around 2 years ago. I think it was somewhere in 2020.
Right, you started off on TikTok, now doing more YouTube things. And do you see it as something that could eventually be a career for you, or is this just for fun?
I mean, the thing is, it's mostly like, would I love to be like a mental health advocate as a career? Absolutely. Do I have the capacity with everything that we're dealing with in daily life to do that well? I'm not sure. So, like just basic things like with migraines, we're not able to read articles. Like we will not be able to read a lot of small text for a long period of time without giving ourselves a migraine. So there are just basic things in like the research category of everything that I know that we're not up to snuff on. But that being said, like right now where we're kind of at is it's helping us to share our experience. It's helping us grow and learn more about ourselves, and it's helping us heal. And as long as we're being really clear about like, hey, I'm not fully educated in all this. I'm not a professional educator. I'm the patient and can give you edumacation-ish stuff about my experiences as I'm going through this. And if that continues to be something that people are interested in for the long term, then that's wonderful. And but also like I don't know how much people are and will continue to be interested in that. So
Do you worry at all about the tension that can rise in these kind of online spaces? I mean, you've seen how things can maybe not fall apart, maybe that's a strong choice of words, but how things can get a little bit tense.
yeah, I mean, I think kind of we were just saying this on a live stream that I think the only reason that people watch us is because we aggressively overshare. Um, and that is just kind of who we've been for a long time. And I'm pretty committed to continuing to be that because I think it helps us a lot with our healing. Um, Especially like I think a lot of trauma survivors feel so stuck in silence for so long that flipping that around and being like, I'm gonna be real open is really healing in a lot of ways. And I think that from that place, I'm not that worried about online community tensions because so long as I'm being open and honest and trying to do the things that I think are best and are like morally good and sound, puppy. Her name's Cora.
Very cute.
Like people can disagree absolutely and we can learn from that and move forward, and then if people want to pick it apart and people want to try and fabricate things, they can do that and they will do that. And it's just for me about like I need to not fall down that rabbit hole and like need to just remind myself, okay, you're being honest about all this, you're doing what you think is best, you're doing your best. And if you notice, like we always listen to what people are saying and we just kind of try to weed through, okay, what actually could be a concern of something that we might need to work on and shift in our perception and our opinions of the world, to be better and to not only like be a better person, but also be a better role model since we do have a platform now. But yeah, I think that's just kind of like, I think a lot of people for very like important reasons need to be secretive about things in their life. We're lucky that we don't in a lot of ways. And it actually brings a big feeling of safety to just be able to be really open and honest, and takes a lot of that fear away of the tensions online.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that. I know there are a lot of people out there who tend to be oversharers and it's kind of a coping skill for them.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely have done that myself in the past, so I do understand it. Personally, I try not to just for my own reasons, but you know, I can see how it can be really healing for people. But on the same note, then, do things like people fake claiming and things like that, do they bother you?
I mean, yes. Yes. Not so much when they're targeting us, but just kind of the community as a whole, yes. I think that there's a lot of our community that ignores the fact that people do fake DID and wants to only focus on the people who are fake claiming and uses that to kind of brush the issue of people faking DID under the carpet, under the rug or whatever. But I think the same goes the other way. And I'm just kind of sick of like who's worse. And it's like both are huge issues. Neither one is helping anyone. Both need to stop. But people just like seeing someone online and being like, oh, I disagree, or I think that that's cringy, and being like, they're faking their illness. I'm going to be really loud about this and harass this person. Not okay. Also, there are a lot of people online who are faking serious illnesses right now, and that's not okay. So
I was going to save all the community questions until the end, but I had one for you that kind of touched on this thing that might work to ask you now. I would love to know how they feel about the rise of people faking DID on platforms like TikTok, how it affects the actual DID community, and what they think can be done about it.
Yeah, it's a huge issue. And it really does affect the DID community, and is really like parasitic. I think that what needs to be done about it is having conversations about the fact that it's an issue, and having conversations like these, as opposed to going out and targeting individuals. Targeting individuals is never the answer. It's only going to make them double down, and get angry and cause fights. And that's not what we need to do. We just need to keep educating about what DID really is, and reminding people it's not a game, and it's not something fun, and it is life altering, and it's sometimes life altering. Hey. Sorry, alter. Sometimes, like, for at least periods of your life, like life ruining at times. And that doesn't mean that you can't live a functional and happy life with DID, but it is a really, really hard disorder to live with. And just reminding people of that, reminding people of what it really is like day to day. And they're going to weed themselves out. People are going to spontaneously fully integrate, or just stop talking about it, or disappear off social media. And it's going to rise and fall, and something else will be next. But we're definitely in the height of it right now. And I mean, I would say, as a whole, block and move on, and stop talking about the people who you think are faking, because that's what makes it a bigger issue. It makes more people do it.
Can I ask then, what do you think are some of the issues that can happen because of it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, no one takes you seriously. And even if someone is potentially taking you seriously, you have a huge fear that they have seen certain things online and aren't taking you seriously. Like, everyone that we talked to about this for the first time were like, what have you already seen? What like, are you friends with someone who like talks about all those TikTok fakers, whatever? What are your like preconceived perceptions? And like the fact that in the past it was like, don't worry, there's no one here that's gonna like come out and murder you. And now it's like, don't worry, I'm not going to suddenly run around on all fours and try to convince you to scratch me behind my ears and tell you I'm a dog. And it's just like, oh, Cora's doing a little, she's not happy that we're up this late. But it's just frustrating, because we're people, we're living day-to-day life. It's not fantastical. It sometimes can be really horrific, but it's not fantastical. And having it treated like a game is really hard when you talk to therapists, when you talk to family members, when you talk to friends, when you talk to strangers about it. And then additionally, outside of that, there are people who take it far enough that they then are looking for DID specialists. And now suddenly it's impossible to get in to see a specialist. Like, it already was hard enough, and now it's near impossible to see anyone who's actually trained to deal with this, because there are so many people who are just flooding in, who don't need to be.
Mm-hmm. There are obviously going to be people who are annoyed at you for saying all of this, because I think for some people, they kind of want to say that there isn't ever anybody faking it, because by extension, that means that they could be held up to scrutiny, when maybe that's unfair. How do you feel about that? What would you want to say to people who are angry about it?
I mean, we know that people have and are faking it because several people have admitted to doing that. Like, it's come and gone, and people have gone through that whole process and admitted it. So we know that it happens. And ultimately, again, like, people should be prepared to be questioned. That being said, again, like, we would never recommend anyone ever going after specific people online. If you see someone and you're questioning whether, like, it really feels real or not, absolutely question that. Absolutely. If it feels like it's not, press that block button. Keep that content away from you. Don't let that content reach as many people. But don't go and share it somewhere. Don't leave a hate comment. Don't target them, because that's just going to make them double down on this whole thing, and give them the attention that they're looking for. And that's kind of part of also what I think we have to give to the community, because at first when we started making this, it was like, there were people talking about it, but there weren't as many people talking about it. And there really are plenty of people talking about DID now. But I do think that that's one thing that we specifically have to give, is that I think that we are willing to be more vocal about being in that midpoint between, like, yes, fake claiming, not okay. The way that a lot of people handle this, not okay. And this is a huge issue and needs to be dealt with, and we're not going to be quiet about that. People need to stop faking this disorder. People need to stop treating it like a game. Because at this point, it is getting ridiculous and it is getting really out of hand. Yeah.
So before then I move on to my next set of questions, I kind of want to ask a ridiculously difficult question. Actually, first, I'm just going to say, please now give me a list of everybody who's faking, because everybody's going to be like, why didn't you ask that question? You should have asked that question. Yeah, difficult, nearly impossible question to ask is, what is a day in the life like for you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it just is so different, like, depending, but I would say your average day is generally waking up in a lot of pain, trying to get some food in our body so that we can medicate for the pain and take our normal daily meds, and then usually doing pretty much nothing and trying to rest and let our body absorb the meds and get to somewhat of a functional space. And then on a good day, we generally have about 2 to 3 hours of being able to be active, where we'll, like, take Cora to a park and we'll sit down and we'll throw a ball for her so she gets exercise, and we'll maybe, like, play a video game with our partner. But, like, outside of that, we're mostly bedridden. We'll make a little TikTok video, we'll do a live stream. Generally during that time of that outing, because there's more, like, stimulus and everything, whether or not we actually go out, but when we're actually doing stuff, that's more often when someone will switch out. So a lot of the times I lose that time, but most of the time we're just kind of wading through life until we're able to be physically able to do something.
That must be really hard.
Yeah, it's really boring. It's a really, and then of course during those, like, long stretches, there are the dark panic attacks and there are the flashbacks and there are all those things, but, like, we don't do a lot with our life. Our life is pretty boring, which is why it's weird to be, like, talking about our life to an interested audience, because it's like, we don't do a lot.
Well, I think people are more interested in seeing a more realistic version for somebody, because a lot of the time the people who are constantly portraying that their life is amazing and they're always busy, they're kind of acting up. And I know there's a lot of YouTubers now who, I know this isn't what you're doing, but kind of in the same realm, they promote slow living and just kind of existing.
haven't heard of that, and that's so sweet. Oh, that made me really happy.
I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff, actually, myself. I watch a lot of people just like gardening and like making food and I don't know, just cleaning up. It's really nice.
Oh, that's really sweet. Yeah, no, that's very much our life.
Right, well, I will move on then to some of the other questions then related to your involvement with DissociaDID or Kaya and Co. I never know which name to go with these days. I think I revert back to DissociaDID as a habit.
And
But
it's like what they're known as, especially on YouTube. I think they use that when they're referring to their YouTube channel. So either one's all right.
So I kind of want to know when you first heard about them.
We first saw the DissociaDID channel, from my knowledge, I believe in like maybe March of 2020, like right before they blew up, I think. But I'm not 100% sure on that. It might have been after that. And yeah, we just watched a few of their videos. It wasn't like we didn't dive down too huge of a hole of their videos. We were kind of like exploring a bunch of different people's, because that was when our old host was discovering that we might have this, and was doing her own stuff with therapy and with discovering repressed trauma and trying to figure out what that could be from. So one of the things she was looking into was DID, and was looking at like also watching Multiplicity and Me, and also watching like a bunch of different people, and just kind of trying to learn about that as well as a bunch of other things. And so that was kind of our first exposure to their videos.
What then happened after you found out about them? So after that, it would have been the whole issue with after the Anthony Padilla and everything kind of went a bit crazy. Were you keeping up with that at the time?
Not really. I remember just kind of watching some of their videos, and then so we were like watching some of their videos and then kind of, I think, catching up on them while they were gone, and we didn't know they were gone. But just like a little bit here and there. And then I'm trying to remember, because I didn't actually exist during this time. So I'm like calling on other people's memories that I have shared with me. But we watched some of that, and then we kind of discovered they were on a break and didn't really know why. So I think we saw the like little Instagram video that they uploaded about Team Pinata, and we were like, oh, something happened there. I don't know what happened there, but something happened. I hope they're okay moving forward. And then we heard something when like the little other explosion happened with Santa Claus and Granddad Zanj for a second, and it was like there are strikes and suddenly their channel might get deleted, and someone apparently scripted all of their videos, or maybe created the intro to all of their videos, or what did they do? And we saw like a tiny bit about that, and we were like, oh, I kind of hope their videos don't disappear, but I hope everyone's okay. Then kind of just went on. So we knew about them, and we had seen a good amount of their content by that point, and like appreciated a lot of it. But we didn't know them personally or anything, and we definitely weren't like hardcore tracking everything that was going on.
So then how did it happen that you did get into contact with them?
Yeah, so they commented on one of our videos. It was kind of one that was like, when you post videos that are about more personal stuff, you pay attention to who's talking about them a little bit more. For me, at least. Zoe posted a video that was, she's like what would be our primary sexual protector, and it was kind of about how her experience with that. It's not like she's this fun sexual free being, it's that she exists for a really dark purpose. And Kaya and Co commented on that on TikTok, just because Zoe used the R word in that, and that she exists to have that happen to her. And Kai and Co commented on that and was like, I've never heard someone say that so just like clearly. And they were just like, that resonated a lot. And so we had a little interaction there. And then from then on, they would comment on our stuff every once in a while, really sparsely. And then one day they were like, we were doing a live stream and they hopped on our live stream and were like, hey, by the way, we've seen your content. We've seen like a little bit about what's gone on online, and I don't think that y'all have been treated fairly. And if you ever need someone to talk to, like, just so you know, you can reach out to us on Instagram and we're here. And they did. And we clicked really fast and we talked about like all this stuff, and we didn't ask them to, but a few days into talking, they were like, hey, so like, I don't know if you have questions about this, but I'm going to feel like you have questions about this. So I'm just going to give you a rundown of like everything that's happened, that there's been drama about, like from our side, and what our understanding is and everything, if you want to hear that. So they gave us kind of a rundown and timeline, and any questions that we had were cleared up then. And yeah.
So clearly, as people think, you just have all this wealth of information and secrets and like dark, horrible conspiracies.
Oh yeah, so many really dark conspiracies. They're up 24/7 plotting how they're gonna make money off of some scam.
Thank God, now I can actually put the word exposed in the title of this video. Great. Perfect.
No, sarcasm. No, there is such little plotting. This is something that and like, it's weird to say, and like, I really think that they have such a incredible intelligence and are so like, they have so much strength to them. And I think that people give them way more credit for how scheming they have the capacity to be. Like, the amount of energy and intellect and like intellectual energy that would have to go into this stuff, they do not have with the amount of like stuff that they're dealing with daily. They just do not have that space to give that to all of it. So when it's like seeing all this stuff of people be like, they planned this and they heard this person said this and so they did this, and it's like, I'm seeing all these things that are happening because I'm like here kind of monitoring things often, because we do that for our own mental health, because we want to be aware of what's going on. For their own mental health, they stay out of stuff, and that's how they take care of themselves. And so we're just seeing all this stuff, and people are like, but then if they say this, we know it's because they read this comment and this and this. And we're like, they don't know that any of this is happening. Like, you've gone down a whole tornado of things. And yes, maybe it would be a good thing for them to know, but they don't know any of this. And the thing that you've constructed that you think is a whole scheme of theirs, they don't even know exists as an idea. So, yeah, there's very little plotting.
So how did then chatting turn to you defending them online? Because you have been seen in Reddit posts and obviously a little bit in the video that you did with them coming to their defense. How did that occur?
Yeah, so basically we just became really close. And one of the like first things that was really clear in talking to them was they were like, we haven't had someone just like listen to us, and we haven't had someone like be nice to us in a very long time from this community. And we asked early on, we were like, do you want us to never mention that we're friends with you? Because we will never mention that to anyone if you need that kind of privacy. And they were like, no, we don't need that, but we don't want you to get attacked. So they were really hesitant for a while of letting us say anything online because they didn't want people to attack us. And then when we did first start ever mentioning, like just in a live stream, we were like, oh yeah, we're friends with DissociaDID. And so we were talking the other day, and we would mention it and we'd be like, hey, just so you know, we did bring you up in this. I hope that's okay. If you ever need us to like just not say your name ever again, let us know. And there were a few times where it became really clear to me how strongly that hit them. And Kaya would be talking about, like, I never thought that someone would be willing to say that they were our friend online in this community. I never thought someone would stand up for us. I never thought that someone would, like, be there for us online. Not even like back us or like stand up for us or whatever, but just like admit to being their friend. And that was heartbreaking. And I think that just like knowing all that we know about what they've been through, and also knowing what we can take online, it just kind of like, it wasn't like any plan that was like, oh, we're going to stand up for you online. But we were just talking, and eventually one day we were just like, hey, I think that a lot of people have a lot of questions, and I don't think you even know a lot of the questions they have. If you like, it might be a good idea to make a big video just kind of addressing everything. Because Nin had decided not to, but Nin was gone and Kaya's here, and Kaya wanted to do that a little bit more. And then they were kind of like trying to figure out how they wanted to do that. And then we offered to help them if they needed someone with them to do that. And so they said that, yeah, that would help. And so we were like, hey, if you want, we'll go to Reddit, and we will, because that's where the people who have the issues are. And if we're trying to answer the issues that people have, let's go there. Let's make a post and let's let people give all their issues. You won't have to read those directly, because that'll probably be really triggering, and it'll probably be really aggressive language, at least for some of it. We'll gather the bullet points and we'll do an interview type thing, and we'll go through all that. So it really just happened very naturally, but it came a lot, I think, from a place of us just realizing we feel very confident. I feel very confident in my understanding of who they are and what their intentions are and what they have done in this community, and been involved in everything. And if I can stand up for someone who I love, who I know is being treated poorly, who, like, I'm not trying to put other people down by doing this or anything. I'm just trying to be like, hey, this is my friend. They've been treated badly. I'm gonna support them in trying to, like, build their way back up. I'm gonna do that.
I think as well then, not I think, I know, there are people who are claiming that this is just your way of social climbing and getting some attention to your own social media.
Yeah. No, we've heard that a lot. And again, like, since very first day, before we ever mentioned their name online, we asked them if, and we also talk to them regularly about, like, you can still decide that we never say your name again online, that we never do anything connected to online. And that's been the case since day one. And we did not become friends with them. When we became friends with them, we did not think they'd ever be making content online again. That wasn't in the picture. And once they did, or before that, like, we never tried to be involved in that. And once they did decide, okay, we're going to come back, we have never been trying to push to be involved in that. We had the idea to do a podcast, and they started talking about how they had podcast experience, and we're like, if you want help, like, we know some of the stuff on just like how to functionally do a podcast. And we were like, okay. And they were like, okay. And then it just kind of kept, like, it all just is built naturally. But since day one, we've been really clear with them that we don't ever want them to feel like they're tied to someone else, or that, like, if they need privacy stuff, that we're not going to talk about them if they don't want us talking about them. And B, that we don't want them to ever feel like we're using them. And we knew that that was also a possibility from day one, that they would, like, feel like, oh, we're just friends with them because they're dissociated. And so we wanted to make that really clear off the bat with them. and I hope have done a good job of continuing to make sure that they know that that's not why we're friends with them.
Do you mind that your name has been kind of tied to their name online, at least for the time being?
I mean, no, because I don't really care about my name online. We're just doing life, and we've had little moments of being like, oh, what's our like brand, or what are people seeing us as when they like first go and like look us up, what will they see? And that just gets so exhausting so fast, and also is like not why we're here and not why we're doing this. And so pretty much immediately we're just like, no, okay. So the fact that we're tied to someone who, yeah, there's shit that's been said about them, but ultimately like we know who they are and love and respect that person and that system. And I just don't care. I just don't care.
I think our names have been tied in like the opposite ways. So mine's just been as the like evil aggravator of everything.
And I don't think so. Okay, I think that you have much more love amongst people who are on the positive side of the dissociated group than you might think that you do. A lot of people are like, she's very fair, she's very wonderful, she's funny.
Jesus. Well, yeah, I was surprised when I did speak to Kaya specifically. I really did think I was going to be told to go fuck myself. I really did. And I was expecting it. I was like, oh God, why are you not like giving out to me? This is what I assumed would happen in my head.
No, not at all. I mean, you're very fair with everything that you talk about and very unbiased. And then we were actually just talking about this in the live stream we did right before here. But someone was like talking about how when you know that you might be biased about something, you always let people know beforehand. And like, I think a lot of people just have a lot of respect for you.
Well, that's very nice. I don't know how I always manage to get everybody to compliment me in every interview I do, but apparently I'm just a vapid narcissist who has to make sure that nice things are said about me.
No, seriously, like, we appreciate you.
So what you are saying then is that you are in fact my number one fan and watch all of my videos all the time.
I haven't seen all of them, I'm sorry. But I do watch them.
I don't think I've even seen all my videos. It's okay.
That's real. That's really real.
It's fine. Right, slightly more serious question. If you don't want to get into it now, that's absolutely fine. But I think from the video that you did with Kaya, people have an assumption about what you think about everything that happened with Team Pinata. Do you maybe want to give more of your own opinion?
So, I mean, long story short, we did not follow the controversy. We did not follow that whole story. I don't feel educated enough in that story to be able to speak really much on it. I ultimately do think that it's really messed up to hold someone accountable for someone else's mistakes that harmed them, or someone else's actions that harmed that person. So like, they were like wedding dress shopping. They were engaged. They were really invested with this person. And when I found out about that, that was like life shattering. And then everyone's blaming them for that. And just making all these assumptions about it. And like, Kaya and Co should not have been the ones to be blamed for that. And they also should not have been expected to be perfect in their ability to respond to that, and still shouldn't, because it's still a really triggering thing for them. They shouldn't have to give a whole response to that. They should be able to just move on. As far as the actual stuff, we haven't seen the drawings. We don't intend to look for the drawings. We haven't delved too far into learning much about all of that in general. I think that what was done was pretty clearly not okay. Yeah. I think that there's always going to be like details behind stuff when someone themselves is a victim of really severe abuse, and that's going to inform what happened, but that doesn't make it okay.
I think I want to drop that line of questioning, but the final one of this line of questioning is obviously a very, very serious one. Brace yourself, honestly. There are rumors that you're dating.
We're not. I know, it's heartbreaking. No.
People say it like they're mad about it, but I think they ship it, quite honestly. I think they do.
I mean, like, yeah, but no. We are in a relationship. We are living with our partner right now. And Kaya also is, at least currently, identifies aroace. So I don't believe would be in any kind of romantic sexual relationship. But I love Kaya with all of my heart and fully think that there is a world in which we will end up living together on some lavender farm with the happiest queer platonic relationship ever. But no, we're not dating.
I would love to live on a lavender farm. It sounds so nice. It would just smell really good all the time.
Yeah, and just have like cool animals. I just want to pet the Scottish Highlander cow.
They're the hairy ones, right?
Yeah, the really fluffy ones.
And cows are so cute. My dream is also farm, but I don't want to farm the cows. I just want to kind of have them there to love.
Yeah, exactly. Do you follow on TikTok the Gentle Barn?
No. I don't even know what I follow on TikTok, to be quite honest with you.
That's fair. If you're going to follow anyone on TikTok, follow the Gentle Barn. They just have a bunch of animals that they rescue that they just treat really nicely and just have a happy life there.
That's so sweet. You see, that's what I want to do. I'm currently growing vegetables on my balcony, so if I can transfer that into a whole like farm with like loads of plants and just some cows and maybe some chickens, because I like chickens.
Yeah. Puffin really likes to hold chickens. We had chickens growing up. Puffin's the youngest in our system. Actually, I'm not sure if that's 100% true. I always say that because for the longest time, that was how we identified her. But now we know of someone who I think is younger, but I don't really know them. So anyways, but we were on a ranch a while ago when we were in Texas, and there were chickens, and Puffin fronted and she ran and she picked up a chicken and she was so excited. And we have pictures of her holding this chicken and she was like so confident just petting this chicken, and everyone else was like, whoa, you just ran up to a bird. Anyways, it was cute.
I love that. That is really adorable. So I have some random questions for you that I'm going to come up with on the top of my head before we move on to the viewer questions. And I won't ask all of them because there is quite a few that I got on Instagram. Just going to pick out a couple of them. Very important question. Superpower. What is your chosen superpower?
I feel like I'd get flack from our system and just kind of from the DID community in general if I didn't say shapeshifting. Because that kind of is the DID dream. But also, I feel like the most like overpowered superpower that I always think of is if you could stop time, but like have full control over it. So like you could stop time for everyone except for like you and this group of people, or for everyone except for like whatever. So that used to be like the dream when we were in a long distance relationship. And we were like, we could just like stay there for a long time, but then also like everyone else could just pause for a little bit and we could just like have time together. But then also like the procrastinator's dream and being able to like rewind time to figure out where the hell I was for those 2 hours that I'm missing.
I think mine is shapeshifting, I gotta be honest. But mostly for vanity, like I could just change my hair color. I get my lips done, so I would like to just have that be the way I want it to be. Like maybe fix the size of my head. Also, it would be fun. I don't know if you missed this period of time where Kiwi farms were calling me Ice Age baby.
Oh, I don't know about any of that.
I think it would be fun if I could have, at that time period, shapeshifted into Ice Age baby for the meme. I think it would have been really good. But yeah. Or teleportation, but I feel like that would get old really quickly.
Yeah. No, I do think that shapeshifting is probably at the end of the day going to be my answer.
Fair.
Also, like no one in our system identifies with our body, so
Oh.
that'd be nice.
All right, let me ask you these viewer questions then. So first one we have is if you will be continuing the podcast.
Yes, yes. There has been a huge legal deadline coming up, and this is actually kind of news that I have been cleared to share. Kaya and Co are now officially representing themselves in court. So their workload has been insane. And this deadline that's been coming up has been just like a crazy amount of work for them. So they have not had the time or space to be able to work on Candid. And we very much have intentionally been like, let's put this on the back burner. You do that. Once this deadline is over, we'll come back to working on it a little bit more if you have the time and space and energy for it. It's not over. It's going to continue, but we're not going to push it in. This legal stuff needs to just be dealt with. And especially now that they're taking that head on that, they need to put their energy towards that as first priority.
And do you know what kind of topics you guys want to cover in upcoming podcasts, or you just see when you get to it?
I know that Jaden and Kaya made like made a huge Google Doc together of like a bunch of bullet point ideas of things to cover, and then kind of categorized like clumped them into different sections of like, okay, well, all 5 of these could fit into a podcast that talks about this. So I think that we have at least like 6 or 7 different general ideas scoped out for different episodes, and then we want to have guests on, and we're also going to do regular Q&A episodes. So I don't know any specific things that I can think of off the top of my head that are like, we're going to cover everything. We're going to cover everything.
Mm-hmm. People kind of thought it was a little bit controversial that you had dissociated truth. I can never remember which way to say it because it's been various iterations over the last year and a half or 2 years or however long it's been. What do you think about that?
Yeah. So I understand. I really do. The way that everything happened, again, it's just like, it's how things happen, and it all really did happen very naturally. And initially, Dissociated Truth reached out to us, which is weird to call them that because we don't call them that. But anyways, they reached out to us and they were like, hey, I just have something that I would really like to get across to Kai and Co if possible. They probably want nothing to do with me ever, but like, I just need to get this off my chest, and can I convey it to you, and maybe you can pass it along if you think that they would be like, okay, and it wouldn't be triggering for them to hear it. So like, you can be kind of the, if you're okay with doing that, you can kind of be the moderator of like, will this be okay to pass along? And so they basically were like, hey, we ran this account. We had a lot of horrible, thoughts and methods and all this stuff. And we supported certain people. And as stuff has come out about them and we've done our own therapy and learned, we've realized that we really regret what we did and just wanted to extend an apology. And there was a lot more details and stuff to it. But long story short, they were very respectful and they never expected a response from us or Kaya. And we ended up deciding yes to pass it along. And it actually really, really touched Kaya and Co because I don't think people understand how much they do not expect this community to accept them back. And they were really gaslit into feeling like they were horrible for everything that they did when they didn't even think they had done that thing. But systems are really vulnerable to being gaslit because we have amnesia, and it's really easy to let people do that. And anyways, we know they were being targeted from a lot of directions, like Santa Claus. And anyways, they basically, which I don't think any of us expected, were like, hey, yeah, can you get this message back to them? And like, I'd actually really like to like say thank you. And then they just kind of had a few things that they wanted to say to each other, and we were kind of playing the middleman. And then they were like, do you want to actually just give them our contact and like we can just speak? And then they did for a little bit. And then we were talking about, we had just wanted to have a guest on the podcast. And I think, I don't even remember how it happened, but it was just, again, a very natural thing where we just had all three been talking. And I think that, so their system, Dissociated Truth, also helped us plan out all the things for the 4.5 hour long interview. Because it got to be a lot for us to read through all the Reddit things. So they did a lot of reading through the Reddit things and putting together the bullet points, because they also knew from that side what people were mad about, because they had been mad about it in the past. So, and they have like experience doing a lot of organizational type stuff. So they did that. And then they were like, if we can do any help like this for the podcast, like we just want to help how we can, because we've caused a lot of hurt and now we want to kind of turn that around. And so we were just working on it, and then we were like, we want to talk about like mom mentality, hate culture. Hey, do you have anything that you think you might have to like add to this, that you might think that we maybe should touch on because you've been on that side? And then we were just like, what if you're just on the episode with us and are our first guest? I think that's how it happened. Memory is awful, but that's how I remember it.
Understandable. That's okay. So the next question that I have for you is your thoughts on the other DID YouTubers.
I mean, each system we kind of have individualized thoughts on, but I think if we're talking about them in a general concept, and I'm guessing they were talking about how they relate to Kaya and Co, because that's kind of the like group that there was all the drama with. I essentially think that when you're dealing with a lot of traumatized people, and then you're dealing with friend groups that are structured around an online community where the online thing is set up in terms of like a popularity game, and in terms of not only that, but you're also talking about a disorder that is so personal that then you're figuring out how to represent that. And then suddenly one person is boosted to like they're representing that to so many people suddenly. And then other people are feeling like, wait, but I would have done this differently. But I didn't feel like my experience got represented in this moment because they have a different experience to mine. I think that that can foster a really intense thing of people being traumatized, people being triggered, and then this group of people sharing similar like about that, and then all targeting that person because they're like, I don't know how to feel. That person needs to go. Is essentially I feel how that happened. I don't think that anybody was being malicious. I think that there was a lot of just trauma responses and people feeling like the community was exploding in a way no one was prepared for, and everyone had their own ideas of how they would have done it differently. I mean, there are definitely things that people have done that I disagree with, some that I strongly disagree with, but like also we're all traumatized and we're all hurting and we're just trying to heal, and it's not worth it to get into petty dramas. And like, can we all just support ourselves and stop like trying to comment on each other and like criticize each other, and like definitely like being like, hey, let's talk about some things that might be issues, but let's talk to each other about it instead of making big public things, and like let's just try to heal.
What are your thoughts on endogenic systems?
I mean, long story short, you can't have DID or OSDD without having trauma. What I understand as an endogenic system from people who we've talked to, and kind of at least my understanding of how the majority of people who identify as that, what they mean by it is not DID or OSDD. It generally is people who are essentially saying, what I relate it to is like they've done a lot of internal family systems therapy or parts work, AFS therapy. where basically someone who is a singlet decides to do therapy that's just a certain therapy style that involves breaking down your different personalities, not your different identities, your different personalities, which are like who you are at work, who you are, what your heart is saying, what your head is saying, and figuring out how to break those apart and give them different names or different like titles, and figuring out how to separate those to do therapy in a different kind of way and understand yourself in a different kind of way. People who identify as endogenic systems, from what I understand, generally mean that they just do that therapy and that's so integrated into their life that they view themselves in a separated way. And they view themselves as like, well, right now I'm this, but they're not saying they have DID or OSDD. That being said, I do think that there are some people who identify as endogenic who have DID or OSDD, but don't know their trauma yet and aren't ready to know their trauma yet. Ultimately, I think it's like, why, how does it affect you? Like, how does it affect you if someone wants to say that they don't have trauma? We know that this disorder exists to hide your trauma from you. It's not worth trying to expose someone to their trauma who's not ready for it. And then just like, listen, don't let endogenic become such a trigger word for you that you can't listen to someone being like, I'm not claiming to have this disorder. It means something else to me. Because usually that's what we've seen that people mean, is that they just view themselves in a more like separate way, but it's not that they're claiming to have alters.
So one person wants to know about your service dog, Cora's relationship to the system, and if training was difficult.
Training is difficult. Owner trained service dog. We got really, really lucky that she has amazing instincts. But yeah, she definitely does sometimes notice switches. Not all the time, but oftentimes she'll notice it and then she'll kind of just settle down. For the most part, she treats us similarly, although she responds to us differently. So like, she'll listen to some of us way better than others. She will not listen to Puffin. Like, she will not do what Puffin asks her to do. Same with Blue. And then there are some people in our system who are uncomfortable with her, and I think she can sense that. And from what I've heard, like, she gets really weird around them. Like Eric in particular, for a while at least, I don't know if he still is, was really uncomfortable around her. And she apparently like would be so weird. She'd just be like eyeing him up and being like, who are you? But no, she's wonderful and she helps us a lot, and she's very sleepy right now. Hey, Cora, we're talking about you. She's like,
So
Mom.
cute.
Mom. Hey, Cora, do you want a little treat?
Oh, that woke her up. Oh my god, she has such a cute face.
She's really adorable. Oh, are you too sleepy for treats? Oh, what a sad, sleepy puppy. There we go. But no,
That's so cute.
She's very sweet, and she helps with physical disabilities for us. She has tasks related to that, as well as psychological stuff and tasks, and she's wonderful.
How do everyone in your system feel about being online and having an online platform?
For the most part, I think we're at a place where everyone feels pretty positively or neutral about it. There is one specific person in our system who very much does not like it, and feels very negatively about it. I don't have any communication with that person. I have never encountered him at all. I am trying really hard to not have really negative feelings about him, and have been since I first learned about him. But he's the one who we had to talk about when we made the video we did on YouTube about alters targeting littles within your system. And that's him for us. And in my opinion, he does not spend time fronting in our day-to-day life. And as of now, unless he wants to be more active and say more things, his opinion is noted.
Hopefully he's not annoyed by that.
Yeah, he probably is, but that's okay.
Right, so the last question for you then is your thoughts on trauma dumping online.
Yeah, I think that that's something that I know that we still have yet to find the right. I think I have very mixed feelings on it, and I think that I know that a lot of my opinions on it are probably wrong. And I think that's something that we have to work on online, because a lot of our healing has to do with not hiding and not keeping secrets about things that were done to us, and not keeping abusers' secrets or keeping that silence and keeping abusers safe in that way. And also not letting the intensity of the things hold power over us. And there's something that feels like being super careful around it or something is giving it too much power. So we tend to go towards trigger warn and feel free to like bleep and do whatever you want. I don't want to make extra editing for you, but also trigger warning. We tend to go like, oh yeah, that fucking time that she hit me. Yeah, let's talk about that. Because it's a lot easier. And the more that you do that, the less power it holds. And also the more you stop making excuses for them and recognize for what it was, at least in my experience. But also, like, when you're making content, you're not just doing your own healing, but also we're trying to make a platform where we're showing people how we heal and reminding people, don't let this have that much power over you. Let's stop creating this environment and fostering this environment where abusers get supported by society's tendency to go towards silence about these issues. I'm very torn on it, but I think that if it's on your own platform, you get to do what you want. Try and be respectful with trigger warnings, but you get to make the content that you want. I think if you go onto someone's live stream and go in the comments there, if you go in the comments of someone's video, if you're on someone else's page or on a shared group for like place, that's a different experience. Like if you're, do chat rooms even exist anymore?
Yeah, Discord.
Yeah. So I guess like that kind of structure of a thing, like if you go into that and you suddenly trauma dump, that's not great. That's not really cool. At least not without like asking permission and everything first. We'll have people come into our live streams and be like, I need to vent. Can I talk about something? And we have to be like, listen, you can try to be respectful to other people in the chat, but I don't have the space to have a long conversation with you about this right now. There are 30 other people here, and I'll try to listen to what you have to say, but we're going to move on past that. And please don't like let that affect you negatively, that we're not going to stay on that for a long time. I think that it's just, you should be allowed to talk about what you want to talk about on your platform. And yes, sometimes it's going to come up on someone's page who's not following you, and it might be shocking to them, but also it's the internet and you can remove yourself from that situation and try to trigger warn so that people have a second to decide to remove themselves from that situation. But you should be able to do what you want on your own, on your own page, on your own territory.
Right, well, that was all the viewer questions. Bonus question from me. Should people subscribe to VangelinaSkov?
Absolutely, you should. Absolutely, you should. Like, actually, if you're going to subscribe to any kind of commentary or drama channel, 1,000,000% here, because I would not consider your channel a comment or a drama channel, because it very much is not dramatic. And like, you just cover things that people are talking about in a very rational way.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So everybody subscribe. Where can people find you?
You can find us here on YouTube. You can find us on TikTok, BraiDID Bunch, pretty much everywhere. From either of those places, you can find links that'll send you to all of our other like 2001 things. But we do YouTube and Twitch and TikTok and Patreon, and what other things do we have? Like a Redbubble. We don't use it, but I'm just trying to think of other things that we have. We made a symbol once and people were like, can you make it so we can get it on a pin? So we made it on a pin so people could get it.
Is there anything else you want to add or clarify, or just your own thoughts on anything?
I think just like, remember, we're all human, and like, also people are so like, I promise you, if you've spent a lot of time going down a rabbit hole on one person online, you have thought way deeper into the things about them than they have. Like, the things that you've considered about them are way further than anything they've even considered, at least in our community. And like, us and Kaya and Co both are usually bedridden most of the time. Our conversations and what's going on for both of us usually is, do I have the energy to get up, to run a bath, to maybe make this pain go away? Or do I need to just lay down? Okay, no, I just need to lay down. Hey, did you see this funny TikTok? Oh, that's a really cute dog. That's 90% of life. And there's just so much less conspiracy than people think there is. And just remember, we're all people and we're just all trying to live, and let's just support each other. If I can give one more little message to the masses, if you think you have DID, or if you claim to have DID, please try to see a therapist. If you're seeing a therapist and they don't think you have DID, but they do believe that DID exists, and like, you've talked to them about it and they've taken you seriously and you've worked through it, listen to them that you might not have it. It's okay. No one's going to be mad at you if it turns out you were wrong. No one's going to think that you were being malicious if it turns out that you were saying you had DID and then turns out, oh, it's something else. It's okay for that to happen. Don't dig yourself a hole, because this disorder doesn't end. It's for life. And it is a messed up thing to do, to pretend to have this disorder when you don't, and to be speaking over people who do. So please just take that seriously and treat that with respect. And it doesn't need to be a whole big thing if you just remove yourself from the community.
Thank you for letting me ask you 50 million questions. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for having us here. It was like such a surprise little thing to do, and I'm excited.
I hope you enjoyed that interview with BraiDID Bunch. Do let me know in the comments what you think about everything we discussed, and if you have any other questions that you feel weren't answered properly, then let me know that as well. The final thing that I'm going to plug to you today is the fact that my merch store is closing down at the end of April. So currently all of the designs are up on the store that have ever been on the store. So if you want to get something before the store closes, then you can get 15% off with code clearance at checkout, and there is also a link in the description for that. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. Please subscribe, turn on notifications, and you can also follow me on social media. Like, comment, share, and do all the things that I'm supposed to ask you to do at the end of a video, and have a wonderful day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!